Welcome to Logic Breaks. Today we are talking about a fallacy called begging the question. This will probably be a pretty quick one. Let's just get right into it. Begging the question is essentially making a claim as though it's already been proven when it's only been stated. So we can talk about premises and conclusions. If you know about that stuff, if you know about syllogisms, the word premise will make sense, but really just a claim. You're making a claim as though it's already been proven when really you only stated it, and then oftentimes trying to add another claim onto that after the fact. So let's get into a couple examples right away here. Let's say you say something like, this criminal should be in prison. Well, of course, some crimes are, prison worthy and others are not, depending on the nature of the crime. So perhaps this person should be in prison. Of course, some severe crimes, certainly most of us would agree, okay, that person has to be put someplace away from the rest of society, whether that's whatever kind of institution that may happen to be. But of course, what has happened here? You've said this criminal should be in prison. You've stated the person is a criminal. You've given no evidence that they are a criminal. You've given no evidence that they have been found guilty of a crime. Of course, first of all, they have to be found guilty. We don't even know what they're accused of, much less whether they've actually committed the thing. So we're basically assuming their criminality, that they're guilty of a particular crime without stating what that crime is, giving any evidence of the crime, and that therefore they should be in prison. Okay, so again, maybe they should be, maybe they are in fact a criminal. We've stated it, we haven't proven it, we haven't given any support for it. Another example might be, don't vote for this liar. I'll leave it up to you, how many politicians do and don't lie and how often. That's another conversation. But again, what have we done here? We've stated that the person is a liar. We haven't actually given any evidence. Maybe they are a liar. Maybe they're a liar about very small things, little white lies, as they're called, social niceties. Or maybe they lie about big things to protect themselves, their interests, their party, their economic interests, to cover up, some bad behavior on their own part. So maybe they are in fact a liar, and maybe we shouldn't vote for them. But first, we have to establish that they are in fact a liar. We've claimed that they are. We've given no evidence. We've just stated as though it's obvious, as though people should go along with us. And this is part of the danger of begging the question, is it sort of asks people, again, in some ways to believe you, to go along with you, and almost as though if you don't agree with them, maybe there's something wrong with you. Maybe you haven't thought it through. Maybe there's a moral failing on your part. That's why you don't agree with them. That's why you're not going along with it. So be a little careful with that. Bandwagon is a little bit like that too. And in a way, maybe there's some bandwagon underneath this idea of begging the question. Let's say I say something like, since the US is a patriarchy, girls have to fight harder to get a good education. Well, that might be true. It might not be true. But you'll notice words like since and because kind of presume that a claim is true, that doesn't need defense, that people already agree with it as an article of faith, when maybe they don't. Now, in certain political circles, people will accept that claim without having to have any additional evidence. In other political circles, they certainly will not. My point isn't to convince you that either the US is a patriarchy or it isn't a patriarchy. That's up to you. My goal with this channel and with everything I do is not to tell you what to think, but again, help give you some tools to think in a more constructive way and to understand what might be going on with some of these fallacies and biases and so forth, propaganda techniques. Okay, so again, maybe true, maybe not. What's the definition of patriarchy? What's the evidence that we have that we live in a patriarchy? What do you mean by that term? Again, that sort of thing. You have to go through that process, at least in your own mind anyway, before you can fully accept that claim. So let's go ahead and watch the clip from Newsroom. There are a lot of other fallacies that go on in the full clip. I will link the full clip in the description. We'll probably be talking about other parts of that video in future Logic Breaks episodes.
Let's move on to the next question. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jenny. I'm a sophomore, and this is for all three of you. Can you say in one sentence or less what, you know what I mean? Can you say why America is the greatest country in the world?
So what you can see clearly happens here is there's a presumption. There's a presumption that America is the greatest country in the world, rather than is it the greatest country in the world? And if so, why do you think so? And what are the reasons for it? But rather there's a presumption. Can you say why America is the greatest country in the world? Presumes that it is. Of course, we have to say, what do we mean by great? You know, what things make a country great? Financial greatness, military, art, social programs, how we treat the most vulnerable among us, our relations with other nations. What do we might all of the above, other things that I haven't mentioned, science and technology, whatever it may happen to be. What do we mean by great? So of course we have to do that first. But again, the presumption is that it's the greatest country in the world, and it might be, it might not be. Again, I'm not here to tell you one way or the other, but the point is there's a presumption, there's a claim that's kind of buried in that question that it is true, rather than asking the question first. So that's all for today. Let us know what you think. Let us know what else you'd like to see covered. Do you have some other examples of begging the question? Go ahead and put those in the comments, and we'll see you on the next one.